They say Islam brought light to the world while Europe was in darkness, that without the Islamic Golden Age, we'd still be in the mud. But here's what they won't tell you: the so-called Golden Age. It was built on the backs of Christians, Jews, Persians, and Greeks. Most of the books were translated by others. The Muslim scientists they celebrate, many weren't even real believers, and some were hunted by Islamic leaders themselves. The truth is, Islam didn't start the Golden Age, it ended it. Let's expose the myth. Despite a global Muslim population of over 1.8 to 2 billion, Muslims have won only 12 to 15 Nobel Prizes. That's about 1.4% or less of all laureates. And in the hard sciences, physics, chemistry, medicine, it's just 3 individuals. By contrast, Jews make up just 0.2% of the world's population, yet they've received over 20% of all Nobel Prizes. Their penetration into science is staggering: roughly 26% of physics, 28% of medicine, 19% of chemistry, and 41% of economics Nobel Prizes have gone to Jews. We've been told Islam lit the world when Europe sat in darkness. People showed us grand libraries, scientific breakthroughs, and a halo of enlightenment. But scratch the surface and you'll find borrowed brilliance, obstructed inquiry, and a golden glow that faded quickly. This wasn't the dawn of Muslim genius. It was someone else's legacy, repackaged and shelved. Long before Islamic armies marched across Persia and North Africa, centers of learning thrived in Alexandria, Antioch, and Jundishapur. By the time Baghdad rose, knowledge already coursed through monasteries, academies, and ancient libraries. Once new rulers realized the value inside, they sought to absorb it. But assimilation doesn't equal creation. Consider Hunan ibn Ishaq, a Christian priest from Al-Hira. He translated over 1,000 Greek medical works into Arabic, including Galen's massive treatises. Today, students in the West still quote Galen almost verbatim, thanks to Ibn Ishaq's meticulous efforts. But the credit now goes to a Muslim empire that merely commissioned his copying. Dozens of scholars, Nestorian Christians, Jews, Zoroastrians, were the ink behind many manuscripts. They spoke Syriac or Persian. They framed Muslim patronage as tolerance, but conversion, coercion, or political pressure often came with it. Their continued work depended on how obedient their sponsors were. Autonomy was curtailed. Criticism was lethal. That brings us to Al-Kindi, titled Philosopher of the Arabs, yet he consistently referenced Aristotle and Plotinus. His greatest achievements were commentaries on older thinkers. He admired Greek philosophy, but always with caution. His writings applied philosophical ideas to Islamic theology, never the other way around. Then came the decisive blow to philosophical freedom: Abu Hamid al-Ghazal. His series, The Incoherence of the Philosophers, denounced logic, metaphysics, and speculative thought as dangerous. His thesis, Reason can't reach moral or spiritual truths, only divine revelation can. His writings shifted the intellectual landscape. After him, philosophical inquiry was decimated. Men who once debated Aristotle in Arabic wool markets found their books burned, their teachings branded heresy. Even science wasn't exempt. Astronomers who questioned Ptolemy's geocentric model or discussed planetary motion were labeled heretics. One celebrated astronomer, Ibn al-Shatir, devised heliocentric concepts in the 14th century, but they were never allowed to challenge theological norms. Conquest didn't always mean tolerance. Historians like Heather Shakir and Christopher de Bellaigue note that by the 11th and 12th centuries, libraries and academies in Muslim lands were subject to censorship. In Cordoba, for example, Ibn Rushd's commentary on Aristotle was banned in most of the empire because it threatened religious doctrine. And later, During the Almohad rise in North Africa, judges declared Greek texts dangerous and burned them in public squares. Contrast that with Europe's approach. Yes, the Church enforced orthodoxy, but it also founded universities that encouraged disputation, lectures, and debate. Let's talk about the famed House of Wisdom in Baghdad. The Romantic version tells of a multi-faith, collaborative intellectual utopia, but most sources refer to it as Beit al-Hikmah, and description comes often from later authors, not contemporary accounts. A council of scholars didn't convene there daily. No records describe vibrant public debates or open critical analysis. Instead, it functioned as a state project focused on translating select works, mainly in medicine, astronomy, arithmetic, into Arabic. If Islam really unleashed genius, why did the Golden Age stop so abruptly? The Mongol invasion of 1258 was destructive, but ideas exported to Europe and India survived. If Baghdad's libraries were truly resilient, similar intellectual wheels would have spun elsewhere. Instead, we see stagnation. The scientific output of the Muslim world declined, universities ceased debating science, and theological institutions prioritized memorization over innovation. Fast forward to modern times. Many countries that claim Islamic heritage, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Pakistan, spend billions building mega-mosques and religious schools. They parade history in charming museums and TV programs. Yet their contributions to high-tech fields are low. They hold few patents and rank poorly in global indexes for innovation and academic freedom. And just remember the Nobel Prize statistics from the beginning, which speaks for itself. When European imperial powers dominated Islamic territories, leaders revived the Golden Age story to inspire nationalism and deflect criticism of political stagnation. Today, apologists use it to defend the faith, pointing to Muslim contributions in algebra, optics, and medicine, claiming ownership, but insisting on selective attribution ignores the broader context. These ideas crossed cultures, traveled with monks, merchants, slaves, and scholars. No empire had a monopoly. The real miracle was synthesis, not invention. Europe's rise came from rediscovering Greek classics, not from Islamic reinterpretations. Thomas Aquinas cited Aristotle in Italian, not Arabic. Copernicus referenced Greek mathematics, not Muslim astronomy. Renaissance artists studied Plato and Pythagoras. Universities in Paris, Bologna, Oxford, all avenues of academic freedom, fed the belief that reason and faith could coexist without fear. The Golden Age myth remains powerfully attractive. It offers a flattering narrative. Islam was once the world's light and someday again could be. It covers over centuries of decline with a veneer of past glory. But for Christians, Jews, and thoughtful skeptics, it fails to explain why the light dimmed so soon, why inquiry was crushed, and why so much intellectual labor came from non-Muslims whose contributions were systematically erased. Faith, of course, has always found ways to coexist with inquiry. Thinkers like Maimonides, Augustine, and Aquinas pursued theology while pioneering philosophy. Their work had flaws, but it wasn't monitored, banned, or purged. They didn't live under the threat of orthodoxy every time they questioned a dogma. That legacy is alive today in institutions built on free thought and grace. If a golden age must be real, it grows in open hearts and open minds, not in states that restrict inquiry, erase inconvenient truths, and retell history for prestige. Truth doesn't depend on empire. It embraces questioning, diversity, and evidence. The story of Islamic Golden Age needs to be told, not erased, not forgotten. But it should be told honestly, acknowledging the brilliance of scholars, the cost of censorship, and the complexity of its legacy. Any faith can celebrate its past without weaving myths. This story demands truth. Like, share, and comment if you're ready for real history, not recycled myths. Subscribe for more truth-based content and never be afraid to question the narrative.